Have you ever looked at a zebra and thought, that's basically a striped horse? They're about the same size. They belong to the same animal family, and they even move in similar ways. So here's the mystery. If humans successfully domesticated horses thousands of years ago, why didn't we do the same with zebras? After all, imagine how useful it would have been to ride zebras across Africa, just like horses were used across Europe and Asia. But despite centuries of human contact, zebras have never become truly domesticated. And the reason has almost nothing to do with their appearance. It has everything to do with what's happening inside their minds. Welcome to Think Frontier. In this video, we'll uncover why zebras are so difficult to control, what makes them fundamentally different from horses, and why one animal helped build civilizations while the other remained completely wild. Let's find out. At first glance, zebras seem like perfect candidates for domestication. They're large enough to carry humans, they're strong enough to pull weight, and genetically, they're closely related to horses. So what went wrong? The answer starts with the environment they evolved in. For millions of years, zebras lived in the African savanna, one of the most dangerous environments on Earth. Every day was a fight for survival. Lions hunted them, hyenas chased them, crocodiles waited at river crossings. For a zebra, being cautious wasn't optional. It was the difference between life and death. As a result, zebras evolved to be extremely alert and highly reactive. They don't spend much time evaluating potential threats. Instead, they react instantly. That survival strategy works great in the wild, but it creates a major problem for domestication. Animals that live alongside humans need to remain relatively calm in stressful situations. Zebras do the exact opposite. When frightened, they become unpredictable. And unpredictability is something humans have always tried to avoid in working animals. But that's only part of the story. Zebras are also significantly more aggressive than horses. In the wild, they don't hesitate to defend themselves. A zebra can deliver an incredibly powerful kick, strong enough to seriously injure a predator. Their bites are also surprisingly dangerous. And unlike horses, zebras often fight aggressively, even with members of their own species. That level of aggression makes them extremely difficult to manage. Imagine trying to saddle an animal that sees every unfamiliar situation as a potential threat. That's essentially the challenge humans faced with zebras. Meanwhile, horses evolved very differently. Horses developed social structures that naturally included clear leadership hierarchies. In a horse herd, individuals often follow a dominant leader. Humans were able to take advantage of that behavior. Over time, horses learned to accept people as leaders, making training much easier. Zebras, on the other hand, are far less cooperative with outsiders. They're less willing to trust, less willing to follow, and much more likely to resist control. Even if you successfully train one zebra, that doesn't mean the next zebra will behave the same way. And that's where another important distinction comes in. Taming is not the same as domestication. Many people use those terms interchangeably, but they're actually very different. A tamed animal is an individual that learns to tolerate humans. A domesticated animal is the result of many generations of selective breeding. Humans domesticated horses by repeatedly breeding animals that were tamer, friendlier, and easier to work with. Over time, those traits became common. With zebras, the process never really got started. The traits humans needed were far less common, and there was little incentive to spend hundreds or even thousands of years trying to change that. Why? Because humans already had something better. Horses. By the time people encountered zebras regularly, horses were already proving themselves as reliable transportation, farm workers, and companions. They were easier to train, easier to control, and far safer to handle. From a practical standpoint, there was no reason to replace horses with an animal that was more aggressive and less predictable. As centuries passed, horses became even more specialized. Humans bred them for speed, for strength, for endurance, and for temperament. The gap between horses and zebras only continued to grow. Today, zebras remain exactly what evolution designed them to be. Survivors. They're not failed horses. They're highly successful wild animals that evolved for a completely different purpose. And that's the key reason humans never domesticated them. Not because they weren't strong enough, not because they weren't intelligent enough, but because their instincts were built for survival, not cooperation. So the next time you see a zebra, remember this. You're looking at an animal that may resemble a horse on the outside, but on the inside, it's the product of millions of years spent surviving one of the toughest environments on Earth. And that's why horses helped shape human civilization, while zebras stayed wild. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more fascinating answers to questions you've probably never thought about, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, and let us know what question we should answer next.